So, ever feel like life is a juggling act and you're always failing? Well, I felt like that a couple years ago, and I started to incorporate routines and habits that essentially set me up for success and helped me balance my work, school, and lifestyle, things I want to do for myself. Another day, another video. So today's video is all about how I balance my life, doing all the things that I essentially want to do, but is more categorized as responsibilities, and including everything that I want to do as well for myself. We are going to get right through all the strategies that help me do essentially everything, or do it to the best of my ability. So let's hop right into it. Now, to give you a little bit background as to what I'm currently juggling, I am a fourth year nursing student, and I am actually pursuing a second degree with a fourth year as a psychology student. On top of that, I do have a couple part-time jobs. So the first being, I am actually a BLS instructor. So that's essentially like a first aid for health practitioners, as well as a healthcare aide. Do I have any other jobs? No. So those are all of my jobs, and I do all of those part-time, just to preface. Outside of that, I actually purchased my first home this year, so there's a little bit of responsibilities that go into that as well that I just need to manage on a monthly basis, but the time commitment is definitely not the same as that goes towards my school and my work. But yes, so that is essentially me, responsibilities wise, but we're gonna get to what I do to essentially balance my work, school life, as well as my social life and time for me, because here's the thing about doing it all, you need to make time for yourself as well, and we're gonna definitely get to that too. So without further ado, let's hop right in. To give you a rundown for what my week looks like, there are a lot of variables that do change from a week-to-week basis, but there's a lot of things that stay the same as well. So I attend classes in person Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm currently split between two universities because I'm pursuing one degree at each university. So I'm on campus at one university Monday and Friday, and the second one Tuesday and Thursday. So that's how I have my school schedule built out. Now, with me attending in person, I also have online classes. So my current class load is I take 5 classes for my psych degree, and I take 3 classes for my nursing degree. And that's gonna keep me on track to essentially graduate. Now, on top of that, I do work as a BLS instructor. Currently, the way my schedule is laid out is if I do have a shift for that week, it's gonna fall on the Wednesday. Then Saturday and Sunday, I try to pick up shifts as an HCA, and more times than not, I do, so that's great. Now, when you hear all of that, it can sound very overwhelming. In between all of this, I have assignments that are due, papers, I have evaluations coming up, whether they're regarding my nursing or they're regarding my psych, as well as things that I need to do for myself. So now that I'm in my last year for my nursing degree, I have to start studying for the NCLEX. So that's another factor that comes into play, and that's just something else that's on my plate. But when you hear all of this stuff, it can definitely sound overwhelming, and me a couple years ago, it was definitely overwhelming. But I also didn't have a system a couple years ago. So that's something that differs hugely compared to the me then versus the me now. With that being said, there have definitely been weeks where I felt like I could not do it all because I just got overwhelmed, and that's part of the human condition. There's just times when you see everything that's on your plate and you do get overwhelmed, and that's fine, it happens. But the biggest thing is to know that there is a past that. So there is something at the end of that, and just looking forward to that and setting that as your goal. I can tell you all the classic things like planning, and I've already run through that. I'm essentially very neurotic with my planning. I have a planner, a weekly planner, a monthly planner. I have a school planner for the week for all my hard deadlines. But what I am going to recommend from this is prioritize ruthlessly. What this means to say is, from week to week basis, focus in on those hard deadlines. Now, once again, I'm very neurotic about this because I like to think of planning as not planning times for certain activities, but planning to make time for things I want to do. So I plan to make time for myself to do things that I want to do outside of those harder deadlines, outside of those priorities that I know I need to get done. I make time for that so I can also make time for things I want to do as well. When we're talking about prioritizing ruthlessly, what I mean to say is not everything is equally as important. So I focus on what truly matters on a day-to-day basis. These are my hard deadlines. So if you have assignments that are due for that week, and you have a hard deadline for the due date, this is the time to get it done. This is the time where you're going to be working on completion for it. If you have an assessment up to that 2-week point, you want to start creating that study schedule so you can successfully achieve the exam score that you want to achieve, or you can at least feel confident going into the examination. Now, this also works into lifestyle. So if there are things that I want to prioritize for that day, and something for me that I love to prioritize is working out. So I always make time for that. But prioritize ruthlessly. Not everything is a priority, but you need to make time to do the things that you want to do. The way you're going to prioritize is through planning. So whether you have a digital planner, whether it is your to-do list, I find it really helpful to create my day to-do list and then honestly just start the things that need to be done. And I tend to limit it to 3 items because if I start giving priority to everything, it does kind of lose its weight. So that's another thing that you can try and maybe they'll helpful for you. I tend to be forgetful, so when I am prioritizing, I'm looking between all my planners, and that just further assists me into making sure that I am hitting all of my timelines. Because to me, that's extremely important, and that is something that I give priority. And now we're gonna get to the gritty nitty of it all. Not every day looks the same. You're gonna have calmer days and you're gonna have busier days. Now for those busier days, I would highly recommend time block. Even if it's not the whole day, time blocking certain parts of your day allows you to create that more focused line of work. So you'll be more focused in on it because you do have a certain timeline. You do have time that you're trying to hit. So I definitely recommend time blocking. The way I do it is depending on my schedule for the day, I will time block the classes out, but I'll actually focus in on time blocking the work that I'm going to be putting in actively. So of course I'm going to be going into classes, that's something I'm considering. But outside of that, let's say I have the afternoon off, or I finish classes by the afternoon, my time blocking will start there for all the assignments I need to get done, any work I need to get done, and now even any emails that I need to get done, because that's the reality. With having a busy day, that does not mean you do not take breaks. Please, you need to take breaks. If I've learned anything, taking that time for yourself is just as critical as getting the work done. I love taking breaks now. I never skip on it, but I also time myself on it because I tend to find myself that if I allow time to go on, I will just keep doing what I'm doing. So that break will become much more elongated just because I didn't cut it off with the time. So what I do is a lot of times I'll put a timer on myself. And yes, sometimes I feel very juvenile doing that to myself, but that's what keeps myself on track, and it also keeps me feeling refreshed. So I get the benefits of the break, and I also get the benefit of going right back into it and locking back in and feeling so much better going back into it. So for me, what breaks looks like is I will do a little doodle. I love to doodle. I love to just drink tea and just have a minute. Sometimes what I do now is I try to actually read a chapter in my book, which has been very nice. And that is essentially how I create breaks for myself. And I would highly recommend you doing it for yourself too. And I can't wait for you to see the difference, because I truly have seen the difference and I'm reaping that benefit now. And it's something that I wish I did so much earlier, but you know, I needed that time to truly understand the benefits of it. So now I'm just gonna enjoy reaping those benefits. Going right into that, taking that time for yourself and having those breaks, we're gonna go straight into the next one, and that is self-care is not negotiable. You taking time for yourself is just as critical as you getting any work done. You cannot be at your most productive level if you are not making time for yourself, because essentially what will happen is you'll get burnout, and that is something I've experienced much too often. And I have gone to the extreme that I have gotten sick because I've committed so much time into my work, and getting sick for a month will really humble you to not allow that to happen again. So take it from me, for someone who's done the extreme, take time for yourself. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is not lazy. Self-care is taking time for you. Now you can do this in different ways. So the way I do it for myself is movement. I love working out. It is something that I've now embedded into my routine. And now when I do skip out on a couple days, I do feel weird. I do feel like I'm not in my system. I'm not doing my best. But that's because now I have a mental tie to working out. So I essentially get all the benefits from working out now. So I don't want to skip out on it. So for me, self-care is working out. Self-care is slapping on a face mask. And you can even do this during your break. Self-care to me is just taking time for me. It is doing the things I want to do, regardless of how silly. Self-care is essentially also recording. You guys, I am not kidding. I have my outline on here, but I will show y'all. It is right now. I'm recording this. I'm essentially recording this at 10:57 p.m. Not because I have to, but truly because I want to. This is my self-care. This is something that I do for myself, and I enjoy every second of it. So these are some of the things that I do for myself to incorporate self-care, because me at my most productive level is when I'm taking care of myself. I can't take care of the stuff that needs to be done if I'm not taking care of myself first. And I've learned that the hard way, so if there's any takeaway, let it be that. So other things that you can do outside of working out is journaling, short walks, skincare, even mindful breathing. If you are a more spiritual individual, maybe hopping into some spirituality. If you're faith-based, going into your faith. Honestly, anything that you are doing for you is self-care. And self-care is not tied into your work. You're not just your work. So self-care is doing the things that you want to do for you. Okay? One of the things that I love about self-care is that it helps me prevent feeling guilty or overwhelmed, because a lot of times when the to-do list is stacked this high, I will be up here in stress and I will feel guilty that I'm not getting that work done. But when I take a moment and I step back and I take that time for me and I center myself, I can take the tasks in front of me on a more logical level instead of that emotional level, which does bring my stress up here. So that's another thing that I truly enjoy about self-care. Now, talking about being selfish, but this next one can sound selfish, and that's learning to say no. Saying no isn't selfish. Saying no is knowing your boundaries. It's knowing what you can or can't do. And I, before, had a lot of issues saying no. I felt like I was obligated to do the social events, to do even like schoolwork that I was way ahead of and I didn't need to do in that current moment. And instead of doing that, I could have spent time with my loved ones. So learning to say no is crucial. It's setting those boundaries. It's also getting to know yourself. You're knowing what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, what you're willing to give up in that certain moment and what you're not. And you shouldn't be forced to feel obligated to go back into that or to give leeway. Your boundaries are your boundaries. And I have found that learning to say no is actually something that is so powerful and it is so profound. So something that recently has happened is I had a midterm last Saturday, and normally I would be skipping out on social events to study, and that was a boundary of mine. That was me saying no. But this time around, I actually had tickets to a beautiful live organ being played with a classical film. I didn't say no to it. I didn't cancel my tickets. I went to it, and I did not feel an ounce of regret. Now, did I also stay up for most of the night and went to that exam? Yes. Did I still feel prepared? Yes, because I still gave myself the prep time that I needed to study for that exam. And that's, I feel like, is a perfect example of showing both sides of the spectrum. Saying no to your loved ones, friends or family or anyone, to you not attending social events to study, to the opposite side of that spectrum, and you saying no to the academic side of it, to allowing yourself to enjoy that self-care and enjoy that time with family and friends and still do great. Because I left that exam room and I still felt confident. Did I also sleep after it? Yes, I slept the whole day, and I would not change it for the world. That organ play was incredible. It is truly going to be a night to remember for me, and those memories are something that I prioritized at that time, and I do not regret that. If we're going to be honest here, some days these all failed. Some days these techniques don't work, and it's okay to fail sometimes. That's the reality of it. We're not striving for perfection, we're striving for progression. And by implementing these steps, we're hoping to be successful. And if it doesn't happen, that's fine. You pivot and you move on. Now, for me, what works best is in pivoting is that self-awareness, that planning. So having that planner ready, you already have something aiding you to already pivot and then be able to reassess the situation and move on. As well as flexibility. Being so rigid doesn't always help, and it's not always for the best. So what I found that works really well for myself is being flexible in those moments, because in being flexible, I can pivot. It's not the end of the world. We'll figure something else out. To recap the points that we discussed, it is prioritize, time block, self-care, and learning to say no. Now, I hope there's something that you can take away from this video to create a more balanced life for yourself in whatever chapter you're in. I truly hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and please remember, life is not perfection, it's progression. Just working on those steps is much more than anything else you can do for yourself. Taking that first step, then taking the second, then taking the third, you are helping yourself so much more than you not doing anything at all, or even you just being more self-aware is already a step in the right direction. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see y'all next time. Bye. I truly cannot believe that it is and I have to wake up at 6 in the morning, but hey, no regrets.